I'm honestly a little lost on what to say. The Democrat primary field, candidates are dropping like flies now, huh? Pete Buttigieg dropping out surprised me. Tom Steyer, not so much. That's one I'm honestly surprised even really tried this in the first place. But Pete surprised me, especially considering Pete, aside from Joe Biden, has done the best pretty much this entire time. He's gotten farther than Bloomberg has so far. He rigging aside or whatever, was neck and neck with Bernie in New Hampshire and Iowa. Now, of course, he did terrible in South Carolina. We know that. Bernie ran away with Nevada. So Pete surprised me. Amy Klobuchar, I think we all knew wasn't going anywhere, but we would have thought she could have figured that out as well, huh? No. She's been sticking in there, and now, for some odd reason, she has dropped out of the race. But doesn't come with no strings attached, of course. She's not just leaving. Seems like she's definitely cut a deal, because she's not only dropping out, but she is supporting the Joe Biden campaign and endorsing Joe Biden. So clearly we know there's a reason behind it. Clearly Joe Biden has offered her something. She feels like he possibly has the better path to victory, and so she's endorsing him and has been definitely offered something probably big in a cabinet position wise. So, gotta put this in the video before I upload it to YouTube. I recorded an entire video. I get the thing finished. I'm trying to do my editing and upload to YouTube, and what do I find in the middle of all this? Not only is Amy Klobuchar coming out and now endorsing Joe Biden, I kind of halfway suspected this, that it was probably going to happen. But now Mayor Pete is also supposed to be at a rally with Joe Biden, and it is being rumored right now that Mayor Pete will be endorsing Joe Biden. So what does this mean? Before I end this little short clip that I'm going to splice into the video, I'm going to give a brief description of what I think this is basically coming down to. Kyle Kulinski hit it dead on the head. The DNC establishment is trying to come together behind one candidate to specifically combat Bernie. They're trying to do what Republicans tried to do just too late in the game last time around, trying to get one person to get all that corporate swamp, middle of the road support, whatever, that could have took on Donald Trump. That's what they're aiming for. They're just not finding anyone, or they weren't able to find anyone who could really do it. And it was like the last ditch effort was Ted Cruz, and even he didn't get over too well, okay, at the time. Not the way Trump did. The Democrats are trying to get ahead of that. And so they're all starting to flood behind Joe Biden. Joe Biden had a massive, massive win in South Carolina, and now they're saying, okay, this is our guy. And so all the rest are dropping out, falling right in behind Joe Biden, and now we're off to the races for real. So if Pete's doing this and he's jumping in behind Biden as well, watch out, man. Watch out. The Democrats are starting to unite. When I say Democrats, I mean the corporate Democrats. They're starting to come together. They're starting to unite. They're starting to work in unison to screw this entire thing, and or perhaps even try to win it fair and square. I mean, who knows? We'll see what happens. I have a hard time believing on a fair and square playing field, Biden's going to edge out and come out ahead of Bernie. But we'll see. We'll see. Unite all that vote behind one person, and who knows? The vote's not getting split up in that area anymore. That's for damn sure. There's less and less choices there. And if two of those big names that just dropped out are going for the same corporate guy, ooh, It's not looking good. It's not looking good at all. So we'll just have to see what happens. Could even be vice president, but definitely I feel like she was offered some sort of an important cabinet position. Okay. So that to me is why we're seeing the deal with Amy Klobuchar dropping out as of today. Now that she has dropped out, and Pete has dropped out, and Tom Steyer has dropped out, I want us to examine a couple of things here. Okay. I brought this up in previous videos, but now that the field is even thinner, it's starting to really stand out to me. Okay. Pretty much what we've got running left. Obviously, Tulsi's hanging in there to the end. Okay. Then you've got Bernie. You've got Bloomberg, Biden, and Elizabeth Warren. Okay. Now that you're down to that field, Biden, I think, is definitely who the establishment is pushing for the most part. Bloomberg has been designated as option B, but you've got Elizabeth Warren, a very deluded person, okay, sitting there on the sidelines in the midst of this. And Kyle Kulinski seems to think over on Secular Talk she doesn't stand a snowball's chance in hell of this actually happening. I'm not convinced. I do believe the establishment will much more prefer Biden or Bloomberg as opposed to Warren. But I think if push came to shove, and now that some people have dropped out, if we saw a surge in the Warren campaign, okay, she's basically already made it clear she's fully willing to take the nomination and steal the election right out from underneath Bernie Sanders through a brokered convention, contested convention, whatever you want to call it. And in super delegates, she'd be willing to accept them on as her new best friends so that she could get this nomination. In other words, to hell with actual democracy. And isn't it funny how they want to talk about a foreign country interfering in American elections and undermining democracy, yet this entire process kind of does that on its own. Okay? But push comes to shove, if Biden's not doing any better as a result of this, Bloomberg can't get over it, rest assured that the DNC would certainly try to cut a deal with Elizabeth Warren. Have they forgotten what she's done, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and all that? No, of course not. They haven't forgotten it. And that's why they're not obviously going to jump at the gun, and chomp at the bit to support her. But they would do it to stop Bernie Sanders. There's no doubt in my mind. Why? Because she's more pragmatic, to use the words of Harry Reid. Okay? So you're really going to have to keep your eyes, in my opinion, on Elizabeth Warren, the snake in the grass. That's my title for her, the snake in the grass. Okay? But yeah, I noticed someone commented on a video, and I guess they've caught on and liked the nickname I gave to Amy Klobuchar. Toadette is out. Toadette is out. And for those of you who are not really familiar with Toadette, I first made that reference in a video with the Radical Independent and brought up the comparison. So I'm going to put a little picture right down here so you can see the comparison that I've been making when I refer to Amy Klobuchar as Toadette from Mario. Okay. That being said, she's gone. The field is narrowed down even more. She's coming out right before Super Tuesday to try to throw her support behind Joe Biden. Definitely trying to give him that boost going into Super Tuesday. And we're going to start watching. I think it's ironic that the one thing that has been said in the midst of all this is that Donald Trump has tweeted out that they're trying to commit a coup against Bernie. They're trying to fix this whole thing, basically. And they are. They are. Now, here's the thing about it. Me and Israel over on Big Talk, Little Talk debated this kind of last time I went on his show. Okay? Israel wanted to take the stance, maybe Trump's doing the right thing when he's calling out all this, doing the honorable thing, and actually trying to be a nice guy, so that perhaps if it comes down to him and Bernie, hey, it would be this, may the best man win, good fellow. No. With all due respect there, do I have honest proof that that's not the case here? No. It could be. There's certainly a chance that that's the case. But do I believe that that's the case? No. I don't believe it at all. Just going off of what I have observed from Donald Trump this entire time, Trump is not a stand up and let's have a good show and be, sportsman-like. He doesn't play that way. Donald Trump hits below the belt. And it's one of the things, arguably, that's gotten him over with his base as well as he's gotten over with his base, is the fact that he is that down in the mud, grungy fighter, will say whatever, doesn't care, has no F's to give. That's the Donald Trump they all love. That's what's taken him to the dance in the first place. Okay? To turn on that and to go away from that, if anything, is going to lose a little bit of that edgy appeal that Donald Trump has to his base. So do I see him doing that to try to help Bernie? No. What he's doing is he's using a set of pathetic and sad, and this is my opinion now, pathetic and sad circumstances for his own benefit. It just so happens the ammunition is right there, and all he's got to do is shoot it. And he's doing just that. He'd be a fool not to. You've got the opposition party once again trying to potentially rig an election, after they already rigged an election last time around. We know they rigged it last time. All signs point towards they're going to rig it this time, okay? And so all he's got to do is sit back and say, hey, look at what's going on. And then if anything, there's going to be some of those independent voters who, if you're like me, perhaps you might not be satisfied with some of Trump's recent actions, but maybe you're still on that fence. Maybe you're thinking, okay, I want the outsider candidate, and you know what? If they screw Bernie, Trump's the closest thing to an outsider I can get, so I'm going to vote Trump again. There are people out there like that. Now, I've heard people try to say, oh, no, the first time is forgivable, but if you voted for him a second time, you're unforgivable. I can't agree with that. Different people look at different issues with a different mindset. Certain things just matter different to other people, and maybe there's an issue Donald Trump still stands on. They may disagree with others, but they may feel he's the best one suited for what they felt their needs were at that time. I'm not going to say that about someone, okay? And I think to alienate people in that way is not a very good idea. Just my personal opinion there. But to me, he's using a serious flaw that the DNC has caused upon themselves, a chip they've put in their own armor, so to speak. He's using it against them. Pure and simple. And it's working. It's going to work. Okay? Kyle has said this multiple times over on Secular Talk. If this thing goes to a brokered convention, Donald Trump wins. And that's going to be the case because the Democrat Party is going to be fractured because here again, in 4 years, the Democratic Party has rigged an election and given it over to their chosen candidate instead of the one that the people preferred. Okay? And even if that ends up being Elizabeth Warren, she's not the alternative Bernie Sanders. She is a corporate candidate trying to wear the skin of a people's champion, a people's candidate. Okay? And she's just not. And she's not going to get that support either. She's just simply not gonna gain that support. So she's definitely one to keep the eye on. But I would argue to say I don't think it's going to be Bloomberg that's the threat. I think that the threat that a lot of people had started to rule out because of gaffes on stage, including myself for a little while, I started looking at it saying, yeah, it looks like Joe Biden might just fall through after all, and that might not happen, huh? Bad debate performances, gaffes on stage, sniffing the youthful soul out of children so he could, keep himself nice and young. That's why he's all over a kid all the time. All the creepy shit that we saw out of Joe Biden, okay? I have to admit, I reached a point where I started to look at it and say, yeah, Joe Biden might be repeating the last few times that he's ran for president. He's probably going to bomb out. I started to think that. No. I said this before. He's pulling a Lazarus. That campaign is coming back from the dead. Okay? And it is. And there's a high possibility that the main corporate candidate that's been right there in our faces this entire time is going to be the man that when they rig this thing, that it gets handed over to. There's a high possibility of that. All I can say is there were a lot of people that said that if Donald Trump won, okay, the Republican primary, it would fracture the Republican Party. Well, as it turned out, that really hasn't happened, huh? And why is that? That's because Trump didn't exactly carry out the entire populist message that he ran on. But he's fooled a lot of people into believing that he has. And for the other Republicans that were never Trumpers, they've changed their minds because they realize he hasn't done a lot of that populist stuff he said he was going to do. Okay? So he got the best of both worlds to a large degree. Okay? But on this Democratic side, they're not letting that populist candidate get into office. They are taking that extra step to try and stop the populist candidate from getting nominated. And they succeeded last time around, and it looks like they're trying to throw everything they can at Bernie to stop him from getting it again this time. Okay? And if indeed they succeed, you think you've seen a party fracture, wait till you keep doing this, the Democrat Party, and rigging elections. You thought the Republican Party was going to fracture. No. There are a large chunk of people who have become Democrats because they're ready to take the Democrat Party back to the left, get it away from the corporate centrist crap that it has turned into in today's world, and back to a party of working class people representing, ideas that we hear about today and are called more radical, but a long time ago actually weren't considered so radical. They've just been taught to you that they're radical because the Democrat Party came right about 20 to 30 years ago. Okay? That being said, again, that's their game plan. But if you keep pissing all over the people, the youth of the country, okay, who want that change, you keep pissing all over them, you're going to see the Democrat Party fracture. And you could see the actual rise of a powerful third party. You know what? I'm not going to complain about that one bit because we need a good third party that's actually taken serious and has a good chance at winning some elections in this country. I would be right there in support of a good, strong third party finally rising up out of this two-party dictatorship. I would be in unanimous support behind that. Okay? Even if I don't agree with them on policy, I want that third choice. Okay, so I would be right there advocating for that 100% that we get a good third party. But something is going to happen if the Democrat Party keeps trying to absolutely walk all over democracy and shove what they want down people's throats. That's just not going to go over. So yeah, looking at this field, things are going to start getting really interesting. Really interesting. And I've said it again. If Bernie can't get the majority of delegates, take that first round, fixes in. And now all these corporate candidates are starting to drop out. Seems they're going to all start funneling their support behind one candidate, trying to create the superpower corporate candidate to try to combat the populist candidate. Bernie and Biden, man. Bernie and Biden. And at the end of the day, I hate to be a bit of a smart ass here, but I'm going to have to. And this is where I've been critical of Bernie this entire time. Bernie, if they screw you again, man, if they screw you again, and that happens, and they take it right away from you, and it ends up being Joe Biden, just remember, when you go on stage to campaign for Joe Biden, because you said you were going to, you said you'd do anything you could to get the nominee elected, remember, okay? So if they screw you, you go on stage to campaign for Joe Biden, just remember when you introduce him up there, give him a good pat on the back and say, I like Joe Biden. Joe Biden's a friend of mine.